We are going to talk about vectors of medical importance. In that, we are going to talk about the class insecta. Now, this class insecta has various vectors transmitting diseases to humans, and among them mosquitoes, lice, fleas, and bugs and flies are there. Of those, we will talk about lice, fleas, bugs, and flies today. So, let's get started with lice. Now, lice are the ones which are commonly seen as ukuna in Sinhalese. These are the commonly known head louse. So there are medically important lice. There are different types, except for the ukuna that you know, which are present in the head scalp. There are others as well. So there are three types of lice which are important medically. They are the crab lice, head lice, and the body lice. Now we will talk about them in a while. We'll start off with the head louse. The ukuna that we all know, which is on the scalp and on the hair in the head. So their life cycle, if we have a look, they have eggs. The eggs are the ukuna, the lady that you know. These eggs hatch and release nymphs. Those are look-alike adults. They are the smaller version of adults, and they grow into adults. So there are three stages in the life cycle: eggs, nymphs, and adults. Now these eggs you have seen, they are firmly fixed onto the shaft of the hair, and you can see it generally to your naked eye. And these eggs, when they hatch, they release a structure, the look-alike young adult, which is smaller than the adult and less pigmented. That is, it is not as black, dark as the adult one. And later on, they grow into the adult stage. So when we talk about the habits, both the male and the female, they feed on blood, and generally they are more active during night time, and also their activity is more when the temperature is more, when we are sweating, or we are in a sort of a warm environment, their activity is increased. And how do we get the disease to humans? Now these lice are a common disease especially among school children, and the humans get it via direct contact with an infected person, head-to-head contact, or if they sort of have close contacts with the person's head in some way, then we can get it. And also rarely, less commonly, less frequently, people get it through personal items, like if they share forms, or if they share brushes or towels or bed linens, or if they share the pillow. That way also they can get the disease. How do you control lice? Main thing is personal cleanliness, to have a bath, comb their hair. That is one way of getting rid of lice. And then they can use insecticides. Those are, they come as shampoo or liquid preparations like creams or lotions. Those can be applied on the damp hair, and then when we wash it after some time, then those insecticides containing in those shampoo or liquid or cream will kill the lice, and so those are the insecticides. In addition, you can you have seen people picking the lice from the head, that is manually picking them, or you can get them to comb their hair so that the lice fall out of the hair. And also you can use fine tooth combs, which are called kukru panal, or kind of there is a lady panal as well, where you can remove even nicks. And the other important thing is, because this can be easily transmitted among the members of the family and the close contacts, it's important that the whole family is given treatment if there are people, if there are one or two who are infected with this. Then let's moving on to the body louse. Now body louse is actually on the body surface of the human. They look alike to scalp lines, so the size and the shape and the appearance is more or less similar, but the body louse are larger and their color is much lighter than that of head lines. And the medical importance of body louse is such that is more important than the head louse. Head louse, of course, in fact, is more causing itching and nuisance, and like it doesn't cause much of problems other than sucking blood and biting the scalp skin. But when it comes to body louse, it is involving transmitting certain diseases. So in that way, body louse is actually more important than the head louse. So body louse is a disease transmitter. So it can transmit certain diseases like rickettsial and spirochetal diseases, and I have given the examples of those. And moving on, this is the pubic louse, which is also called crab louse. The name is given to pubic louse as crab louse because the appearance is something look like a crab. You can see the tip of their legs, they look like of the crab, and also the body appearance, the body shape look like a crab, so that is why it is given that name. And the medical importance of pubic louse or the crab louse is it causes itching. It is in the groin area, in the hair of the groin area, but it does not transmit diseases. Um, now after the three lice, it's only the body louse which transmit diseases. The head louse and the pubic louse both uh, do not cause diseases to humans. They are not transmitting any diseases, but they cause itching and allergy and a bit of nuisance to the host. So then let's move on to the another vector, which is called fleas. So moving on to fleas, now these vectors have no wings. Their body is laterally compressed, that is side by side it is compressed, and you can see that they have a bigger, stronger legs. Here you can see that they have much more stronger legs. That is because they move by jumping. Okay, and they are dark brown in color, and they are bloodsuckers, and they transmit diseases from animals to humans. So these fleas are mostly dog fleas, cat fleas, rat fleas, etc. So moving on, in the life cycle, it's a complete life cycle. So they have eggs which hatch and release larvae, and the larvae grows into a pupae, and from the pupae the adult emerges. So generally these eggs are laid on the hair of host. That means if it is a rodent or if it is a rat or dog or cat, their hair can contain eggs, or it could be even on carpets uh, on the surface, or the cracks and crevices, the cracks that are on the walls, or and even on certain structures, those can have eggs. And what happens is they drop off and hatch and release the larvae. And generally the adult stage, that is the flea, can change from one host to another. What's the medical importance of fleas? They are a biting nuisance. That means they cause irritation. When they bite us, it causes irritation. And in addition, they transmit diseases to humans as well. Even sometimes we can eat up the flea, that is via food and water. If we accidentally ingest them, they can transmit certain cystoid diseases as well. So how do we control fleas? That is by keeping the home clean, And then we can use insects repellents, insecticides on animals like pet animals. And if there are there are certain species of fleas which can burrow into our skin, under the skin, so those fleas can be removed by a minor surgery. Those are human fleas. And then the rodenticides, that means you use insects or chemicals to kill the rats and other, when it comes to rapidly transmitting diseases, we can get rid of the rats so that the fleas will automatically be get killed when we use rodenticides. So now we are moving on to bugs. Now these are the bugs that which are prevalent in Sri Lanka. There are certain bugs are considered blood sucking parasites because they suck blood, most of the bugs. And of the medically important bugs, there are two types that we generally talk about. That is Thymex, the bed bug that we all know, and the Ukuna. The previous picture was of the Ukuna. And the other one is this redweed bug, which is shown here in this picture, which is transmitting the disease called American trypanosomiasis, which is also called Chagas disease. The redweed bug is the vector of that American trypanosomiasis. Luckily in Sri Lanka we don't have this disease, so we are not going to talk about the redweed bug anymore. Because we are talking only about the Cymex bed bug. So if you look at the morphology, this is the Makuna, the Makuna that we all know. The Cymex bedbug is oval in shape and it is dorsoventrally flat. It is as if we have crushed it onto a surface, and it's brown in color and it has no wings. And the life cycle, when it comes to life cycle, the eggs hatch and release larvae, and these larvae becomes nymphal stages, and the nymphal stages become adults, and these eggs, they lay on the cracks and crevices in the beds and mattresses or even chairs. If there are any holes or small spaces, they can deposit eggs on those places. And when it comes to adult bed bugs, Cymex bed bug, the both sexes, that is males bug and the female bug, both take blood meals, and generally they stay close to their food supply. That's why they are in the chairs or benches and beds, so that they can readily have access to the blood. And generally they survive long period without blood meals, so even if they don't have access to a host for blood meal, they can still survive. And these bugs, they emit some specific characteristic some smell. That's why if we crush a bug, it is quite smelly, and they can pass from one place to another. That's how people carry bugs to their homes. Like, say if it is a public place like a train station, the bench or the tables can have bugs in it, and they can hang on to the clothes of the person sitting in that bench, and then that person can infect their own home in that way, because they can readily pass from one place to another. So moving on to the medical importance of bugs, they are a vital nuisance, and apart from that, they don't transmit any diseases. So how do we control them? That's by personal and household cleanliness. That means you need to make sure that there are no breeding places suitable for them. That means cracked wooden bars containing beds are a good place for them to breed. And if you use iron bars, iron beds instead of wooden ones, that will prevent that. Or you can cover those cracks with some wax or something to prevent them depositing eggs. Or you can use insecticides to kill the ducks. So now we are moving on to flies, flies of medical importance. Now there are two categories of flies of medical importance. Now these medically important flies, one category does not suck blood, the other category suck blood. So which means certain ones like housefly, flesh fly or blue blotted fly, they don't suck blood, but they are important as disease transmitting vectors. And among the blood sucking flies, we only have sandflies in Sri Lanka, so we are going to talk only about the sandfly. The other black fly, deer fly and tsetse fly, they are also important disease transmitting vectors, but since we don't have them in Sri Lanka, we are not going to talk about them. So this is the Musca domestica, the housefly. It is found everywhere as you have seen, and it also has a complete life cycle. That means they have eggs which hatch, and here you can see the eggs hatch and release larvae. These are the larval stages, and there's larval stages grow into pupae, and through rupturing the pupae, this adult come out of the pupal stage. So this is the look of the eggs in real life. Now they look like rice grains, just like rice, like harlatter. Now these things you have seen, if you observe the black color garbage bag that you have at home, even if there are little white rice grain like these kind of things, these are the eggs of domestic Musca domestica, this domestic fly. So these eggs hatch quickly. Of course, it depends on the environmental temperature. When they hatch, they release the larval stage, which is the feeding stage. They of course eat up a lot, so they eat up garbage and all this organic material that we throw out. So they basically feed and get bigger. This larval stage, of course, is quite helpful in species identification as well. Now, if I show you now, this is the diagrammatic representation of the larval stage. This is the real appearance of the larvae. You can see it has a posterior end and an anterior end. This anterior end is the pointy, this structure is conical, so the pointy one is the anterior end. The anterior end has kind of mouth hooks to hang on to the surface wherever they are, and the last segment has some structure called spiracles, which have a characteristic appearance. Now, with the help of that appearance, we can sort of make a good guess of what the species of fly is if we are not seeing the adult, but if we are seeing only the larval stage. Now, this is the cross section of the spiracles. This is how it is seen. These are important for respiratory. These are respiratory related structures. Now these larvae grow into pupa, and generally they are brown or blackish in color and barrel shape. And through the pupa, the adult emerges. Now if you take the adult, the morphology wise, it has this thorax has the one which I have shown here is the thorax, and it has four dark longitudinal lines with which the Musca domestica can be identified, separating it from the other species that we know. So moving on, this is their legs. If you see, this is the actual appearance of the end of the legs, and this is the diagrammatic representation. Those end with claws. You can see the claws here, and these are the sticky granular hair which are present. Now these actually are now Musca domestica, the housefly, is a mechanical transmitter. That means it carries infections, the microorganisms from one place to another. So these claws and sticky hair help with them with their function. This is the wing appearance with which again species can be differentiated. And what's the medical importance of mosquito domestica? Now I told you earlier also, it's a mechanical vector. That means it transmits certain pathogens, virus, bacteria, microorganisms, parasites from one place to another. So it does not involve. Now biological vectors are the ones where the particular microorganism get into that particular vector and develop inside the vector, whereas mechanical vector is somebody which carries the microorganism from one place to another, just transporting the microorganism from one host to another. There is no involvement of the vector in the life cycle. So, Musca domestica, the housefly, is a mechanical vector. In addition, it also transmits or it causes a disease called myiasis. Now, myiasis is caused by the larval stage of the parasite or this vector. Moving on, we'll talk about sarcophaga, the flesh fly a little. Now, flesh fly is commonly seen in meat stores, that's by the name, and it has a peculiar appearance with which we can recognize them as sarcophaga. Now, in the Musca domestica, I said it has all longitudinal lines in the thorax. Likewise, a sarcophaga has three longitudinal lines on the thorax. And further, now this is the Musca domestica. It has four lines, whereas the sarcophaga has only three. In addition, the abdomen has kind of checkerboard, chessboard appearance. Now this is the sarcophaga flesh fly. Now, sarcophaga flesh fly does not lay eggs, instead they directly um, release larvae. Now, these larvae, at the back of the larvae, there are spiracles as well. And the appearance of the spiracles of sarcophaga is different from that of Musca domestica, the domestic fly. So, the spiracle picture is shown here. If you remember, this is how the Musca domestica spiracles look like. So, with the difference, we can recognize that which one is sarcophaga and which one is Musca domestica if we only see the larval stages. Now, these things are sometimes important for forensic medicine. So, moving on, the chrysomia, the blue bottle fly. The name is given because of the appearance. You can see that it has a green and green appearance, and these are commonly seen on feces or such material, animal manure and all that. So they also have the same life cycle stages, and then their spiracles are placed on both anterior and posterior ends, and this is how their spiracles look like. So what's the medical importance? Now, based on the features of larvae, as I said in forensic medicine, they can, knowing what which larvae it is, they can sort of do a back calculation to the time of death. So basically, it is important for forensic medicine in certain instances. So how do we control flies in general? First thing is they transmit diseases to us by contaminating our food. So it is important that we prevent our food getting contaminated by flies. So to do that, we can use self-closing doors or anti-fly curtains, or we can cover the babies with a net, or we can use fans at the entrance so that the flies don't enter to the house. Such measures can be taken. And moving on, we can also eliminate breeding places. Now, when we know what are the breeding places of Musca domestica or sarcophaga or chrysomia, we can sort of avoid um, making the environment, we can eliminate breeding places in the environment, and also we can use direct killing methods, that is either physical killing by sort of spraying various chemicals to kill, like we use a lot of sprays at home to kill cockroaches and all that. Likewise, you can use them on flies, and also certain we need to give people the health education as to what kind of diseases do they transmit, and what is the importance, what are the breeding places, how can we get rid of them, and so on and so on. So when we tell them what are the breeding places, these are the commonly um, used breeding places of breeding by the flies. So poultry houses is dung heaps, human excreta, the garbage and organic refuse. All these things are good breeding places for flies. Just a bit of methods of killing flies directly. I said we can use physical methods or we can use chemical methods. These are few examples of physical and chemical methods. So now we are moving on to the blood sucking flies. Now among the blood sucking flies, all these four species that I have mentioned are important as disease transmitters, but I am going to talk only about the phlebotomous species, the sandfly, which transmit a disease which is important in Sri Lanka. Now the sandfly transmit leishmaniasis. We have already learned it. This species which is transmitting leishmaniasis in Sri Lanka belongs to phlebotomous species. How do you recognize the sandfly? Now they look alike like a mosquito but smaller than the mosquito, and this has a humpback. Humpback in the sense this back area is humped, and they have generally has a lot of hair in the body. You can see even this wing is very hairy, even the body is very hairy, even this area it's quite hairy, so the entire body is very hairy in appearance. And generally most of the mosquitoes or most of the insects, when they um, at the resting position they fold their wings, but this one, as you can see, it keeps at a erect position, erect V position. They keep their wings so that it is also kind of an identification feature. And since sandflies are bloodsuckers, they have blade-like cutting blades in their mouth. So where do they breed? They breed in cracks and crevices in the concrete or in the walls or stones or even rodent burrows. And generally, out of the two, the female is the bloodsucker and they are night biters. And how do we control this disease is by using residual insecticides or using repellent applications. You can apply various repellents on the skin. Also, you can wear long sleeve clothes and avoid going to bush areas or possible habitat areas of these sandflies at night. That way, you can prevent you getting bitten by the sandflies. So the other blood-sucking flies I mentioned earlier, the Simulium chrysops and the Glossina species mosquito, the flies, they also transmit various diseases, but none of these diseases are prevalent in Sri Lanka. Okay, thank you.